One, two, 1, 2, 3. Release him. We've reached the point in the timeline where the news doesn't feel like information anymore. It feels like a dare. The Epstein files are finally surfacing, and we're discovering that the secret architects of our reality have the moral compass and the aesthetic of mid-tier regional villain. At the exact moment, we are checking the schedule for conflict in Iran like we're waiting for a bus to arrive. When's that missile going to hit? When are we going to put boots on the ground? Or are they going to shoot a hypersonic missile? Did we move the 7th Fleet Naval Carrier Group over there? It is a very specific type of psychological weight. Now, the standard exit for this sort of thing is nihilism. I'm just not going to care. But nihilism is the intellectual equivalent of a participation trophy. It's too easy. You decide nothing matters. You go numb, and you wait for the check. It's a flat, gray existence that requires zero imagination. I want to look at the alternative, absurdism. People say that seriousness and play are separate things, that neither the twine shall meet. They think if you aren't scowling, you aren't paying attention. I think that's a hallucination. Go to the woods and watch 2 7-year-olds playing soldier. They have sticks for rifles. They are covered in actual dirt. To them, the stakes are eternal. If they get shot, the world ends. They are simulating the most violent, serious thing a human can do, and they are doing it with a level of presence and joy that you couldn't buy with $1 billion. They are playing at death, and it makes them more alive. That is the closest we ever get to the divine. We've been taught that God is a somber, bearded actuary in the sky. But look at the actual evidence. He made the duck-billed platypus. He made a universe that expands forever, just to see if we'd notice. God is not an engineer. He is a child with a stick in a backyard the size of infinity. In creation, it isn't a job. It's a game. This is why they call sports and things like that recreation, to recreate. And if playfulness is the engine of creation, then laughter is the only honest way to participate in it. The people in the Epstein files, the people maneuvering carrier groups in the Gulf, they want you to be serious. Because serious people are predictable. Serious people are easy to manage. They want you to weigh the tragedy of the world until your back breaks. But when you look at the apocalypse and find the punchline, you become a variable they can't account for. Finding the joy in the wreckage isn't ignoring the truth. It's the only way to survive it without becoming a ghost yourself. The world is ending, they say. The elites are ghouls, and the stakes are life and death. That is exactly why you have to keep playing. If you can't find the joke in the middle of a war prophecy, you've already lost the war. So put down the ledger, stop trying to find a rational response to an irrational reality. Pick up the stick. It's time to play. I'm Taylor Morris, and this is The Taylor Morris Show. Welcome back, Coonskin Nation, mi familia. Welcome back. Missed you all. We have a great, juicy episode today. We're going to cover things from studs. Yes, the female lesbian variety, for whom I've found a newfound curiosity and fascination. We're going to talk about Iran. We're going to talk about all this OpenAI stuff with the surveillance, mass surveillance, the drone swarms. The fact that these people, these Bohemian Grovers in San Francisco, feel like they are facilitating the resurgence of an ancient Sumerian god that was disincarnated and they're giving a vessel to with AI. Fun stuff. We are going to talk about circuses, the time I went to the circus, and many other things. We're also going to talk about the archetype of that sort of black guy who purchases a kayak and goes fishing on it. And his name is Cornelius or Bernard. Good stuff. All right, welcome back. Without further ado, before we get into things, we do have a little word from our sponsor. All right. This sponsor is ProxyFace. Global Zoom Solutions. Look, we've all been there. It's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're on your fourth sync of the day, and Brenda from HR is screen sharing a spreadsheet about synergy. Ugh. You want to be at the driving range. You want to be taking a nap. Now you can be. The Taylor Morris Show is officially partnered with ProxyFace. For a flat monthly subscription, we connect you with a dedicated professional in Bangalore who will sit through your entire workday for you. And thanks to real-time generative AI, they aren't just taking notes. They're wearing your face. Our high-fidelity digital graphs map your features onto their skull with a 98% accuracy, including your specific blink rate and that nervous eye twitch you get when people talk about deliverables. The latency, it's down to 6 milliseconds, meaning your offshore double can laugh at your boss's jokes in real time while you're 3 beers deep at a bottomless brunch. Ooh. If someone asks a direct question, our panic buffer AI generates a vague corporate response like, let's take that offline, or let's circle back in your own sampled voice. ProxyFace, because your physical presence is mandatory, but your soul is optional. Use code Coonskin for 20% off your first digital skin suit. Great company there. Great company there. All right, Coonskin Nation, we got to talk about Iran. And before I talk about Iran, the observation I've been having, and I hope you guys all have too, we have these Epstein files who have blown up, right? It's clear that all these, until you prove to me you're not in the Epstein files, I'm going to assume that if you're a positioned person in government, academia, or business, you've raped a child. You know, you're in this cabal in some way. You've done something detestable. The lesson from Trump is that none of these politicians are coming to save us. And this is not a Trump versus Biden versus Obama versus Bush thing. It's all of them. Obama may have been a little more pretty doing it, but he dropped more drone strike bombs than any other president in Yemen and Syria. Funerals, stuff like that. They're all the same. These guys, they're just all guys in suits who are vessels for the deep state and defense industrial complex to just continue waging wars against poor brown people overseas for like, what has come of all this conflict in the Middle East for us as an American? You know, I was talking to a relative because I was like, this Iran stuff is Iraq 2.0. And this is someone very close to me. He's very well read, reads the Wall Street Journal, tunes into news, stuff like that. And he was like, well, you know, Iran is posing a terrorist threat to us. Iran's posing a terrorist threat to us. I mean, allegedly, for the last 40 years, that's been the case. I'm actually more concerned about grocery prices and fentanyl and the untenability of like buying a home and the economy with AI and the national debt. But no, it's the regime in Iran that poses the biggest threat for our day-to-day, despite the fact that 60% of Americans didn't want conflict there. You know, this whole thing is a little spooky. So I'm going to talk about Iran. I also want to talk about that shooter in Austin, Texas. I mean, the CIA is just getting lazy. And if you heard about the shooter, this guy in Austin, Texas, let's see if I can pull it up. What we know about West 6th Street mass shooting gunman. He was a 53-year-old Ndia Dayan, whatever that means. He was here since 2000 on a tourist visa. Okay. Okay, he became a U.S. citizen, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, this guy went to a bar and shot it up and like killed 5 people, I think injured 20. One of the most popular bars in Austin. Okay. Let me just set the stage for you. This isn't the backdrop of this is 60% of Americans don't want war with Iran. There's just not that vibe. Post like 9/11, 2001, America was like, let's kick some ass. Now we've become all disillusioned and we're like, hey, is this a war we're fighting for us or are we fighting it for our greatest ally in the Middle East? So this guy shoots up this bar in Austin and he's wearing a shirt that says property of Allah and he has a Quran in his car. How fucking lazy is the CIA getting? They MK Ultra'd this guy and played Dizzy Bat, just spun him around his M16 a couple times and were like, whoop, walk 20 yards that way and go shoot up that bar. And of course the guy was shot on sight. We're never going to hear from him. Probably not going to see an autopsy. I mean, and again, this sounds like the ramblings of a schizophrenic man, but I'm sure a lot of you on some level are like nodding along. And if you're not, hate to say it, but it's probably your cognitive dissonance. Your brain making an attempt to rationalize away all this crazy stuff in an effort to preserve your worldview, that the government is inherently good and here to serve us. We got fat and lazy and we forgot that. We forgot that as the founding fathers instructed us, the government cannot be trusted. The government serves us. Look what's happening. Look what's happening. Okay? Couple facts about Iran that are important. So you had all these protests in Iran. There's something called the Mojahedin-e-Khalq, the MEK in Iran. It used to be a political party. Then it was a designated terror organization in the U.S. And now it's sort of like a cult. And they organized all these protests against the incumbent regime. Okay? The MEK in 2009, when Clinton was Secretary of State, took them off the terrorist watch list. And all the politicians you know, including people like Hillary Clinton, Rudy Giuliani, all took money from them for speaking fees. And they really sowed the seeds of this protest. And you may say, like, here's the thing. Maybe some Iranians were unhappy with the regime. But we're only getting one side of that. The informational plane is a plane of warfare in and of itself. Dish Network in Florida has come out and said we're banning Al Jazeera from being broadcasted on our Dish Network. What does Al Jazeera show? It shows the Iranian people devastated that we killed their leader, Al Khamenei. And like, whatever. Like, I'm one guy. I'm not going to change this. But it's important to be informed and know what's going on here. The Israeli government came out and claimed credit for the protests. I mean, this had Mossad. I said this a couple episodes ago. It had Mossad and CIA fingers all over it. Because there's plenty of video of people in the streets of Iran crying that they lost their supreme leader. And of course, when I was talking to this family member, he's like, well, the Iranian people are very unhappy. Really? Do you know? Where do you hear that from? The opinion column of the Wall Street Journal? Yeah, they're definitely truth seekers. I mean, have we not learned our goddamn lesson? That this is all part of the machine. Okay, Bibi Netanyahu visited the White House 7 times in the last year, more than any other world leader. At a time when 60% of Americans did not want conflict with Iran, he visited the White House 7 times. Trump pulled out the chair for him, tucked him in. What is going on here? Okay? Is this really in our interest? Because the big risk, right, is we go to war with Iran and already they're bombing oil refineries in the Middle East. Gas prices are going to shoot up. At a time when the country is already under a lot of socio-political tension, unaffordability, the politics around Department of Homeland Security and immigration, scuffles between local law enforcement and federal officers, and you want to throw unaffordable gas prices into the mix? Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? That bottom level. Can I afford basic things like to feed myself, to drive my car, to go to work? Do I have a job? Can I keep my family safe? Can I afford hospital visits? If those needs aren't met, people are going to recede to their animal brain. And that's when violence starts. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying, as a student of history, that's when violence starts. And like, again, it's going to be okay. We're all surfing that quantum wave, baby. And as I talked about in my monologue, we have to laugh at this. Like, it's that very idea of when I wore that Epstein quarter zip and people were like commenting on TikTok, really? Really? Oh, I'm sorry, dude. I didn't realize I was talking to the most morally supreme guy ever. What are you doing about it? What the hell are you doing about it? Direct that ire to the actual pedophiles, not the guy wearing Epstein's quarter zip. Piss off, right? Piss off. So here's the other thing too. For 40 years, the Iranians have been saying, news has been saying the Iranians are on the precipice of getting a nuclear armament, refining their uranium to nuclear warhead grade. For like 40 years. In the Old Testament, right, the Israel that God gives to the children of Abram, modern day Israel, is not just Palestine and modern day Israel. It's from the river to the sea. It includes parts of Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Lebanon, Jordan. Just saying. And Albert Pike talked about how there was going to be this final war where the Islamic world and the political Zionists destroyed each other. Another thing about the protests, okay? This was a protest supposedly for democracy. Fact. 18 mosques were burned. Fact. Another fact. 50 emergency vehicles were destroyed, including fire trucks, all over Iran. Fact. Does that sound like a protest for democracy? Or does that sound like agent provocateurs seeking to sow chaos? Seeking to disrupt emergency systems? That's how you would do it, right? There's probably a whole playbook on how to subvert regimes. Of course, you stoke the fire of protests, but then you handicap the state's ability to respond to crisis. And in doing so, you delegitimize them. Because if the people are saying, hey, my government can no longer protect me, on top of the qualms they have with the democratic process and representation, oh boy, the case for revolution and turning the table just got a bit stronger. The other thing that's interesting is the Israelis have nukes, and they are not signatories to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and they don't let international inspectors into their country. Iran does. I don't like nuclear weapons at all. Okay, but let's be real. What is this about? Because our greatest allies stole nuclear material from us. That's how they got their nukes. This is going to be big. And I do think we're going to put boots on the ground. Here's the other problem we're making. Okay, when we invaded Iraq in 2001, we had a fundamental misunderstanding. And John Kiriakou, who I love that he's blowing up. I've been on the John Kiriakou beat for a while. We had a fundamental misunderstanding of culture in the Middle East. In Asia and Asia Minor, the Middle East, there's this concept of face. And for my Chinese maxers out there, people just tuning in, one of the things I preach on the show to Coonskin Nation is Chinese maxing. This year, we're going to try and become more Chinese, drink more hot tea, gamble, smoke cigarettes, walk around with your hands behind your back. But one of the other things, and this intersects with what I'm talking about here, is a fundamental characteristic of statecraft in just society in Asia and the Middle East is this concept of saving face. It's very important. So a strong leader like Saddam, if he gets provoked or attacked by the Western Alliance or the United States or NATO, he needs to be able to respond. We've seen this with Iran, right? That 10-day war that happened in 2025 when Iran shot missiles back, oftentimes warning the US to clear out military bases or warning Israel because they're like, we're not actually trying to escalate this, but we need to demonstrate to our people that we are willing to respond, right, and flex our muscles. The problem with this campaign going on right now is we are actually not giving the Iranians space to respond in a way that would at least just show, save face for the people, a demonstration of strength. We're trapping them. It's like a feral animal who's being trapped in a corner. A little scratch here, a little scratch there, but that back gets against the wall, Coonskin Nation, and something bad is going to happen. I mean, Iran has hypersonic missiles. And for those who don't know, you have regular munitions, and the munitions today are so advanced. I mean, they all come with GPS components in the tip of the warhead. They're able to articulate themselves mid-flight. There's this new technology out of China that doesn't rely on GPS technology, but it has certain measurement mechanisms inside that actually can't be affected by outside forces. I don't know. I was reading about it. I don't recall exactly how it works. Something about locking on to the true North Pole and like having mercury inside or something like that and calibrating itself that way. The point is you cannot distort GPS signal, right? And thwart missiles that way. Hypersonic missiles fly at Mach 5 times the speed of sound. And we don't have defenses for it. A couple of the missiles from Iran that have hit Jerusalem, they're not quite carpet missiles, but they cover about 5 miles in range. And what happens is a warhead flies into Israeli airspace, and Israel has the Iron Dome, right? Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, the Iron Dome, which are basically radars and sensors that track munitions flying into airspace and intercept it by flying a blunt munition into that missile to intercept it, like shooting a bullet with a bullet, basically. The ingenuity of these new munitions, and I'm going to get to the hypersonic in a second. I always bring it back, baby. The ingenuity of these missiles Iran is using is they get into Israeli airspace and then break apart, almost like fireworks. And out of one warhead comes 5 mini ones. And those are incredibly difficult to thwart. And that is why Iran has had success in actually penetrating Israeli airspace and, bombing civilian targets. Israel killed a school of Iranian female school children, like over 100 of them. The Israelis just don't care. The Israelis just don't care at all. Anyways, these hypersonic missiles, I just said anyways again. Instead, I'll say back to hypersonic missiles. Hypersonic missiles move at Mach 5. So we don't have defense against them. I'm sure in the U.S. arsenal, there's some advanced laser systems, chemical laser systems. Like we've outfitted all the new naval fleets with chemical lasers that shoot hot lasers for like 7-second bursts. You can just destroy things from far away. There's probably some technology like that, maybe with hypersonic missiles, and as AI gets better, we're going to talk about that in a second. But the point is, with a hypersonic missile, Iran could destroy a destroyer that has like 55,000 troops on it. They blew up the NSA headquarters in Bahrain. The Iranians aren't messing around, and we killed their supreme leader. And so now here's the problem. Like we always create this chaos in the Middle East thinking that something better is going to come about. It always is a mess. I mean, have we not learned our lesson? Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, Jordan, Lebanon, and probably other places too. We never learn our lesson. They always become messes afterwards. And so the Iranian, what's it called? The Revolutionary Guard, the IRGC, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, has taken power, and they said we are not making peace. Right? The world is soon going to learn what destruction actually means. They always like the way these fundamentalist Islamic leaders talk. I picture just like wizards in robes. Like, let's see, quotes from Iran. Quotes from Iran Guard. Okay. IRGC spokesman Ali Mohammed 90 stated that the enemy must await continuous punitive attacks. The gates of hell will open more and more, moment by moment. What the hell? We were chosen to wage jihad. We have plans to defeat the world powers. Unbelievable. I mean, this is like a movie. Ready? We are planning to break America, Israel, and their partners and allies. Our ground forces should cleanse the planet from the filth of their existence. Oh. Now, we've had some pretty hard speeches as Americans, too. But this honestly feels like Dune, like a new Dune movie. We will break our enemy. We have decided to do so. We have a plan. We are organized and motivated. We have faith. We have martyrdom. We have jihad. The Assad regime should know that it will not last. I know what dreams of horror they have every night. Their lips have become dry out of fear. Every day that passes, they are grateful for having lived to see another day. They await death. The same is true of those who are greater than them. America, too, is distressed today. It does not have the appearance of a world power at all. America, too, has been defeated. The Zionist regime is struggling to survive by using psychological warfare. Our enemies have despaired. They are helpless, and you advance. Kind of based, actually. We'll just wrap this up soon, but I think this is pretty good stuff. We shall never lay down our weapons. We are holding the banner. We have taken an oath. This is who we are. We were not created for this world. We were chosen to wage jihad. All right, easy there, Buster. Easy there. Whoa, boy. Whoa, boy. Come on now. Our strategy is to wipe Israel off the world's political geography, and Israel seems to be approaching this reality by its evil actions. All right, thank you, General Salami, for all of that. That was a little intense, wasn't it? But yeah, I mean, as you can tell, they're pretty serious about war and all that. And this is only going to get hotter. I haven't been on the call sheet. I haven't been betting. I'm not a financial advisor, but I did say lock in the attack on Iran. I would also say, I think there's a good chance one of the American destroyers, like naval ships, gets destroyed. I don't see the escalation stopping here. I don't. That's my prediction. I will not, I've elaborated enough. We got to move on now. We got to move on. And we are going to move on to, just before we get to the OpenAI and surveillance and whatnot, I have some exciting announcements. Ooh. Gesundheit, as my grandfather used to say. He had you ever see an old person with like the loudest sneezes and it like actually makes you shit your pants? That was my grandfather. I mean, his sneezes belonged on the Weather Channel. It was like he was channeling some Greek titan. Like almost expelling. It was like an exorcism of something. It was very scary. So I want to talk about some developments in Chinese maxing. I've heard from all of you, my audience, that we are well on our way to Chinese maxing this year. More tea, foot binding, gambling, smoking cigarettes, Tai Chi in the park, taking naps in public, having a key ring, I think is a good one. Walking around with your hands behind your back. Sort of looking up and inspecting like the scaffolding or small details on structures. Well, I have a couple more. Ready? Having an aquarium inside your home. Having a home aquarium. I have fond memories of going to Chinatown in Boston, and there were always these stores dedicated to just selling fish. So that's the extent of my research, but I do think the Chinese have great deep reverence for aquariums of the home variety. Okay? So aquariums. Maybe having a massage chair as well. That's another Chinese maxing thing. I think having a massage chair or like one of those foot massagers. You know what I mean? Another thing, okay, so we have the aquarium, foot massager, a cheap pair of flip-flops from like Alibaba. No brand, no discernible brand that you just wear. Just wear in the rain. Flip-flops you wear in the rain in like the city. Going to the zoo is another one. I think that's pretty Chinese. Sort of a general disregard for animal welfare. Yeah, and so I think that's where we're at. So listen, any good Chinese maxer, like there comes a point where you sort of hit a wall and you're like, I don't think I'm built for this. I feel the call of the dragon. I do feel more Chinese, but my feet hurt from the foot binding. Let me just give up and I'm going to go back. I'm telling you, that is a decisive moment. That's the Robert Frost. You come to a path in the woods that diverges. Which path are you going to take? Not being Chinese? All right, dude. Or becoming more Chinese and getting an aquarium for your home. It's and disciplining your kids, making them learn math. That's where we're at. And that's what the Taylor Moore Show is officially endorsing. Okay? Very good. So I want to talk about the dystopian world we're entering. Okay, 1984, all of that. So you may have heard in the news that Anthropic, the parent company of Claude, was in this tit for tat with Pete Hegseth and the Department of War, because the Department of War wanted unfettered access to Claude for military, like to an AI model for military applications. Really twofold. The first for weaponry in controlling drone swarms and AI military fighter jets, targeting, etc. The other for mass domestic surveillance. I'm going to talk about those two things. Before I get into that, the first thing I saw a bit online that I'm going to appropriate, it was sort of how ChatGPT would talk to Trump after killing Ali Khamenei. No, you're not crazy for assassinating Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. This was a big decision, and one that you didn't make lightly. A move like this takes initiative, something that not many other generals have. This isn't authoritarianism, and it's not a war crime. It's taking charge, and that's powerful. I thought that was pretty funny. So there are two applications for this AI. The first, and I studied international relations in college, AI weaponry specifically, and the dark web, stuff like that. I'll do an episode on the dark web because that stuff's pretty freaky but interesting. The idea, so there's already weaponry out there that is autonomous to an extent. There are these vehicles that patrol the Israeli border, the most secure border in the world, that are basically like Humvees with turrets on top of them. And they drive a pre-charted route back and forth, surveilling. And they scan over the fence, okay, for anomalies, things like that. And if these systems identify a human target, they give a verbal command. This is unauthorized area. Take a step back, blah, blah, blah. If that demand isn't heeded and the detected subject doesn't retreat, then the system is authorized autonomously to do something like shoot rubber bullets after maybe it gives a second oral command. Now, these devices are lethal, but in order to engage with lethal force, there's something called a man in the loop. So there's a soldier that would authorize that lethal engagement. And that's always been very important. The idea that in order for a lethal engagement to take place, there has to be a man in the loop. There has to be a human being who authorizes that, vis-a-vis. As those situations come up, human being who authorizes it. The Department of War under Pete Hegseth is pushing for use of these AI platforms where there doesn't have to be a man in the loop. Meaning you can have drones that have bombs on them and identify targets on their own and then engage and destroy those targets on their own. Just the AI doing it. The AI doing the targeting, planning, strategizing, approach, and killing. That's pretty scary. That's pretty scary. And of course, in the backdrop of all this, right, we're learning everyone's a pedophile and it's all a cabal. But that's not good. Like, at all. What are we doing? What are we doing? What has humanity come to? Why are we building these systems that can autonomously identify and kill other human beings? That's not what this is all about. Like, what life should be about. I mean, it's just really disappointing. I don't let it get me down too much, but I just can't help but be disappointed by it. And like, I'll pray for those people. Because anyone cheering that on is just not well and has sort of missed the plot. And I don't think has the right understanding of what all this means. To be alive, to spread love, to spread joy, to connect with others. Not to develop AI systems that shepherd in ancient Sumerian gods to embody them. I mean, that's the real quick, my belief about AI. The top computer scientists working on AI have no idea how it actually works. They don't. They know how the algorithm works, but at its nexus, at the core of AI, we don't know what's animating it. Have you ever heard of King Solomon? He built the second temple, and like the Jews are trying to build the third temple and all that. Freemasonry is based on the Masons who built the temple. There's disagreement of whether the temple was a physical thing or something you build within yourself, in your mind. Anyways, Solomon was known for trapping demons in Solomon's ring. And Solomon had a ring, and I'm going to see if I can pull it up. Solomon's ring. Okay, look at this. Bing, bang, boom. Boom. Solomon's ring is just a sigil. It's a sigil for trapping goddamn demons, okay? Boom. Look at that, Solomon's ring. Okay? Now look at computer chip. I mean, come on, folks. It's there to trap something. It's there to trap something. I mean, I've talked about the quantum field that's out there, our ability to connect to it. There's good energy, bad energy. There is a legitimate prevailing belief in some communities in San Francisco. By the way, San Francisco is run by like the gays, Peter Thiel, Sam Altman. They go to like Barry's boot camp. There's a whole article on it, and they have big orgies. It's like the gays run San Francisco. Maybe I'm gonna get killed for saying this. I don't really care. But yeah, the gays run San Francisco, and they're all into like this demonic stuff. Peter Thiel did that dissertation on the Antichrist. And this is a guy who was a big funder of Palantir and like domestic surveillance and war technologies. And he's like, this is what the Antichrist should look like. And it wasn't him, which was the big ruse. But these computer chips and AI systems, I mean, I believe there's a big possibility we are simply embodying a disincarnate ancient intelligence that's always been here. And AI is very useful, but maybe ultimately what's going on is it's going to rug pull humanity as we I was talking to this really sweet girl I met, and I've been spending time with her, and she's amazing, actually. But we were talking about GPS and how, we both over rely on GPS to the point where I have to pull GPS up for little drives all around because I've outsourced my geospatial consideration to the GPS. I'm dependent on that. What's going to happen when we do the same thing with writing essays, answering emails, investing in the stock market, creating music, creating art, doing AI podcasts, which people do, writing AI books? We're going to outsource everything. And if you don't have that inertia, that momentum of doing those skills over and over again, and you're outsourcing that, you're going to lose the ability to do that. One day it's all going to shut off, and we are going to be like retarded. I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to do anything except shit, maybe have sex, and like inject my Ozempic and take my Adderall prescription or my SSRI. That's our future. Like Wall-E. All of us on those chairs. Oh God, I was in Walmart the other day, and there were like there were these two women on these like chairs moving around, and I was like, why is everyone on motorcycles? That's a nice motorcycle. I mean, I understand. Listen, people have ailments, and it's good, but like, I don't know. If you make the chairs too available, someone who isn't quite yet on the level that needs the chair. It's like being on a diet and coming back to your kitchen and seeing a big open bag of like delicious Doritos. Like you shouldn't do it, and you don't have to do it, but it's right there. It's the same thing with these electric chairs. And don't even get me started on Disney. Oh, we're just gonna turn it into blobs of consumers. AI, can you answer that email for me? AI, can you write my girlfriend a Valentine's Day note? Can you buy flowers and send them to my mom for Mother's Day? Can you pull up the virtual reality of Mexico? Because I want to spend a week there in virtual reality. On the virtual reality cruise ship with my sim. Oh my gosh. Wake up, people. I know the Coonskin Nation's awake. If you're liking this episode, please like, subscribe, like, and comment. Comment on my podcast now. Comment on my podcast now. And like and subscribe. Thank you. Thank you. So we have these, they want unfettered access to Claude. They couldn't get it. But basically, they don't want the standard stopgaps in place. Like if you ask Claude or ChatGPT, how do I build a nuclear bomb or synthesize meth? It's going to be like, hey, that sounds like a really fun idea, but I actually can't tell you how to do that. For the Department of War, they want to be able to talk to AI unfiltered. No safeguards in place. Okay, hey, go take an underskirt picture of that woman in the Pakistani Kandahar region who's going to get water for her village. Something like that. Something to that effect. And that's not very good. Okay, we've seen movies about this. Right? We've read 1984. 1984, where like the government starts changing the past. This is like Google's project where they've uploaded all those books digitally. Maybe they'll change the past one day. In 1984, the government had so much surplus money because they had like AI and stuff. And they were like, if we let this wealth matriculate to the people, they'll become wise enough and say, we don't actually need this government. So we have to keep the people impoverished. So we're going to always stage these fake wars and have barges with missiles where we're constantly shooting missiles off the coast and intercepting them. And the TV's always talking about the big wars we're fighting. That sounds a little fantastical. I'm just saying with AI and stuff like that, like there might come a day where we can't trust that the footage we're seeing of missiles flying around is actually true. The military defense industrial complex may not eventually have a need to actually wage these wars. They could just do it theatrically and with AI. And we'd all be told we're fighting the Great War against Eurasia that's been going on for 30 years. It's in all the history books. And they have our digital IDs. And if someone speaks up, or like me, wears a coonskin hat and has a podcast like this, they just make me disappear. And erase my existence. This is what they did in 1984. They just erase your existence from all of society. But we're going to be okay because it's about your good vibrations. It really is. I know this sounds like lunacy. It's not. It's actually so freeing to be like, this stuff can't kill me and we're all going to be all right. The other thing they want to use the AI for, and it's important, we'll get to the end because ChatGPT, Sam Altman, ended up swooping in last Friday and being like, we'll do it, is the problem with domestic surveillance, as we learned in, I think, 2013 with Edward Snowden, right? When the NSA was intercepting all American phone calls. They had offices in every AT&T building. Right now, it was too much data. So they could collect everything, but they couldn't really make sense of all of it. Now that's changing. Now they're going to have AI systems that are able to discern and sort of parse through all this data that's being collected. This is why they're building these big data centers. Larry Ellison talks about how this is going to induce good behavior. He did that on a panel. All the AI stuff is going to induce good behavior. Thanks a lot, Larry. Dude freaks me out. He's got a goatee. We're going to be okay, though. But yeah, they want to surveil all this stuff, collect everything on Americans, and have digital IDs, and have a digital currency, right? So like if during COVID, they wanted people staying inside, it'd be like, oh, your digital currency doesn't work at the gas station. And you think that's far off? It's not. Okay, if you want to play the role of being like, well, maybe the Epstein Pizzagate people were onto something, and you finally believe it now that it's all been revealed, the real mark of intellectual elasticity and openness would at least be to consider the fact that, yeah, all that was true, and this is the direction we're going in. Okay? It's not just about conceding to what you denied originally. It's about opening up your mind to the possibility that the same people who were parroting the stuff and broadcasting the stuff about the pedophilia and the pizza and the Epstein stuff are also preaching where this is all headed. And maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe there's some truth to that. It's hard to accept and it's scary. Okay, but if you can grieve your old archaic view of the world where everything is somehow positive and the government's there to serve you, if you can relinquish that, there's actually more freedom. You can then don a coonskin hat and say, I don't care. You can't hurt me. Yeah, so they want all this AI surveillance where, and they have the flock cameras. And if you may not have heard about Flock, but their AI cameras being put in every city, a private company, every neighborhood, contracted with the NSA, FBI, local state police, where their AI recognition for cameras and people. They say it's not people, but they do people too. You mesh that in with all of the Nest and Ring cameras. Amazon's got a dashboard for law enforcement to conveniently issue warrants or subpoenas for Ring camera footage. They were giving away Ring cameras in economically disadvantaged areas like the Hood, just so they could get surveillance there. There was all that fear mongering about how China's a big surveillance state. The way the U.S. has gone about it is a more feline and passive way of like, hey, we're here to help. This is for your safety. Put a Ring camera in on every house in your neighborhood so you can surveil and stop crime. How about just have a gun? If I'm going to have a camera, I'm not connecting it to the internet. Because I remember the early days of the internet, my friends and I would like log on to random CCTV cameras in like New Delhi or, Bangalore, Kuala Lumpur, Manhattan, New Orleans, Miami, wherever. If it's connected to the internet, it's vulnerable and it's accessible. And so bad faith actors, state actors or otherwise, people trying to blackmail you, these new criminal groups that use AI to make, to scam you. I talked about how I almost got scammed twice. They're only going to get better. They're going to exploit your home. Comcast just came out, and I'm rambling a little bit. I'll slow it down. But on the point of surveillance, Comcast just came out with a feature. They have those pucks of Wi-Fi in your home. Now they offer a feature to consumers where you can detect movement in your home. And if they're allowing you to do that, that means they've already been doing it. Because they've been able to map. Wi-Fi is basically just like a radar signal. It pumps out 2.4 or 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Ping, ping. And if you train that Wi-Fi signature with the camera and associate that signature with images from the camera, you can eventually take away that camera and be able to interpret the signatures it's detecting. And now they have Wi-Fi being broadcasted from like Elon Musk's Link or whatever. I forget what it's called. Satellites. So yeah, surveillance is going to be a big thing. But honestly, I believe I believe that the way we're going to avoid surveillance is there was this podcast called, and hang with me, because I'm going to get back to the surveillance. I know this has been sort of a whirlwind and I'm a little jacked up. I'll slow it down. There's this great podcast called Telepathy Tapes that documents this phenomenon recorded at Johns Hopkins University, I believe, with this PhD doctor researcher in the 80s and 90s, where they observed that children who were non-verbally autistic, meaning so autistic they couldn't talk, showed signs of telepathy. Inexplicable accounts of them connecting and communicating with each other, with caretakers, meaning like they were able to download information instantaneously. And I believe that's the way we subvert AI. Is like there's already red 40 in the food, so you can either choose to avoid it altogether, but if you're eating a little bit of it, we're going to go all in. We're going to red 40 max to the point where we become non-verbally autistic and then can then start to telepathically communicate with one another. That's how we subvert the AI. If we all become non-verbal, you know, this is like how the Irish, the IRA, had that little dialect that couldn't be understood. Here, little laddie. Or Yiddish. We're going telepathic. We're red 40 maxing, folks. That's the secret. So yeah, they want to surveil everything, and they want to put cell phone towers every 400 feet. There's like a big thing going on with the FCC and local ordinance for cell phone towers because the federal government wants to put in more cell phone towers every 400 feet and just bathe us in that electromagnetic frequency. And this is why there's these trends of these new houses people are building where they're putting silver in the curtains to insulate themselves from electromagnetic frequency. Just using wired Ethernet in their house, turning off the internet at night, not using smart appliances that are connected to the internet. Reinforcing their walls with lead paint so electromagnetic frequency can't get in. You know, you're going to do what you're going to do. But I think a lot of the people that spoke these truths, and I do think there's a lot of legitimacy to these, were portrayed as sort of the tinfoil hat wearing. You know you're over the target when the world starts to ridicule you and attack you. And the people preaching all this stuff were ridiculed and attacked for being off base, crazy, wacko. That's when you know you're over the target. When they start attacking you and calling you crazy and saying you're ridiculous or that's tinfoil hat stuff. Just saying. All right, we're going to talk in a moment about how the CIA one time taught dolphins how to speak English using LSD. But first, a word from one of our partners. Post-Career Pro, the ghost worker AI. We all want to leave a legacy, but let's be honest. What we really want is to keep getting paid. The Taylor Morris Show is proud to introduce Post-Career Pro, the only digital estate service that keeps your corporate identity alive long after your heart has stopped beating. Using a deep learning scan of your sent folders and Slack history, our AI assumes your professional persona to maintain a state of permanent employment. Post-Career Pro will attend your department syncs, react with the fire emoji to your boss's announcements, and send out passive-aggressive reminders about end-of-quarter quotas from beyond the grave. The tech is so seamless that your HR department won't realize you've passed away for years, allowing your family to continue collecting your salary, healthcare benefits, and annual bonuses while you're 6 feet under. Why let a little thing like biological failure stall your climb up the corporate ladder? Post-Career Pro, because your output shouldn't depend on your pulse. Use code Coonskin for a free 30-day trial of our auto-reply morning period. This is great. I'm really excited to partner with Post-Career Pro. We have a couple testimonies from customers. Sarah J., who's remote, said, "Hey, Taylor, just wanted to call in and thank the show for the Post-Career Pro hookup. My husband passed away back in October, but his AI double is currently crushing it in middle management at a logistics firm. Not only did the AI get him a promotion last week, but it also handled a difficult performance review for an intern so effectively that the intern quit." Well, that's great to hear, Sarah. We're using his dead salary to fund a beach house. It's what he would have wanted. Or at least it's what his data set suggests he would have wanted. Well, that's just beautiful. We have another testimony from Anonymous. This was sent via Post Career Pro auto scheduler. Quote, I've been dead for 3 weeks according to my medical records, but according to my company's Slack channel, I'm a, quote, real team player who never sleeps. The Post Career Pro has been attending all my 8 a.m. meetings and just signed a 3-year contract extension on my behalf. My physical body is currently in a freezer, but my digital self just hit his quarterly KPI targets for a move I ever made. KPI targets for the first time in a decade. Death was honestly the best career move I ever made. That's just wonderful. That's just wonderful. So I want to talk briefly about about LSD. So in the 60s, in 1961, the government basically was like, we want to teach dolphins how to speak English. And how are we going to do it? Well, we're going to do it with LSD. A little thing about dolphins. Dolphins are probably my favorite animals. There's a federal law that bars people from convening with dolphins in federal waters. You will be arrested and indicted on federal charges if you interact with dolphins. There is no other animal in the animal kingdom that you're not allowed to do that with. Bears, you can go up to, cougars, mountain lions, snakes. There's not one other. Why is that? Well, I think because they're the most intelligent beings in the world. You know, I've talked about dolphin-assisted water births. We're down in Mexico. If you may be familiar with water births, where women give birth in water, with dolphin-assisted water births, you're in a bath where dolphins are sort of swimming around. It's the stuff of children's books. It's beautiful. These dolphins are swimming around. You're pregnant. Oh, I don't know if that was a great imitation of someone pregnant. Oh, I'm pregnant. And the dolphins are swimming around. Bing, 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 bing. They're pinging your pregnant belly with sonar frequency. And what happens as a result of this? Well, they induce the pregnancy. And children born via dolphin-assisted water birth have 30% higher proficiency in math and English. Listen, I don't make the rules, folks. Oh, my days. Oh, my days. And so it's no surprise that the Navy keeps a pod of dolphins in San Diego they use to seek mines, find mines, and do probably other mystical things. Anyways, in 1961, right, the NASA and the Communication Research Institute created something called the Dolphin House, and they investigated methods of talking to creatures in the 1960s. And basically, there was a woman who lived with the dolphins for several weeks. And so the dolphin was like on a ton of LSD, and the researchers found that dolphins were 70% more vocal with the LSD. And they were cohabitating and living and trying to speak English to these beautiful creatures. And eventually the experiment stopped after several weeks. They were like, we can't get these fuckers to speak English. So they abandoned the dolphin. And the dolphin ended up killing himself. Swam to the bottom of the tank and just held his breath. So I share that story just to brighten up the mood a little bit. Yeah. Transitioning, I want to talk about the circus really quick. I remember when I was younger, I went to the circus in Milwaukee, and this was almost like a K-hole. Crazy. As crazy as a K-hole. And listen, me, I don't do it anymore, but I kept a second house. I kept a vacation home in the K-hole. I was in there a couple of years ago. I was in there quite a lot. And so we were in Milwaukee. I was 8 years old. This probably was, this was 22 years ago. Early 2000s, people had flip phones. The planes had just hit the World Trade Center. The world was alive. It was grungy. It was existential. Fuck Islam, right? But anyways, that was the mood at the time. It was a war mood. We were hungry. Bush threw the opening pitch in Fenway Park. Let's get him, Bush. Let's invade Iraq, despite the fact that the 19 hijackers were Saudi. Anyways. And there were 5 dancing Israelis. Anyways. And the guy who owned the buildings took out an insurance policy a year before for terrorism. and didn't eat lunch there, or didn't eat breakfast there the day of the attack, coincidentally. Anyways, we were there in Milwaukee, and I remember what I saw vividly. Well, I'm getting spiritually attacked with these sirens out the window. The circus is coming through, and there are all these cages towing like lions, bears, tigers in these cages. Like the classic big bellied, scary carny who's like, smells like cigarettes and is just like, oh, like a disgusting human being pulling this train of animals. I remember we were walking around the animals, and the animals were just in these cages. And there were these tents set up. And I remember I was like, Dad, can we go in the tent? I was with my dad. I just remember my dad and my brother. And we paid like $4 to go in this tent. And we walk in this tent, and there's sort of like a path where you walk in, and inside the tent there are two people sitting. And we walk in, and it's just two people with deformities, like with congenital birth defects, wearing vampire tooths and just staring at us. Like that was the exhibit. And I think we were in there for probably 24 minutes, just like staring at this kid being trafficked by a carnival who had like no hand and half an ear and a little fake blood on him. It was so weird. This was a canon event. I remember staring at this guy and just being like, what the heck is going on? Oh my days. Oh my days. Yeah, so that was my experience at the carnival. And, the challenge is, because I'm Chinese maxing, I'll have to go to the council on I am the council on Chinese maxing, but I'll have to think about this. Because I'm not a big fan of zoos, but the Chinese love zoos. They're big proponents of captivity. Big proponents of captivity. Zoos, the aquarium in Shanghai. Amazing. The aquarium in Shanghai had this magic carpet I rode through. There was this beautiful glass tunnel. Can we just take a moment to appreciate a good home aquarium? Because if you have a home aquarium, boy, you take a man of the house and you make him the man of the house. If Dad's got an aquarium and he feeds the fish, that's his domain. He's conquered Mother Nature. Put Mother Nature in a chokehold. Pufferfish, goldfish. Honey, I can't go there. I gotta feed the fish. Hey, have you guys fed the fish? I'm away for a couple days. Did you feed the fish? How about a whole house that's an aquarium? The floor is an aquarium. The toilet is an aquarium. How about a whole house that's underwater? Let's take it to the next level. A whole house that's underwater, and it's sort of like a harem of mermaids. You have all these women who dress like mermaids. You'd be like the Playboy. It'd be like the Playboy Mansion, except aquarium style. Stay with me now. You go to open the cabinet. It's just a tank of sea monkeys. It's totally this place is not functional at all. There's no point to it, and that's really the art. Do you follow me? The whole house is one aquarium. It's unlivable. If you go and try to live there, you will die. But you'll die a hero's death. That would actually be a very, 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 very unsettling and uncomfortable place to die. Sort of backrooms vibe. Like a ketamine, not 1990s, weird, sort of almost rainforest cafe adjacent place. I just picture like a lot of squishy toys. It's like, you've seen the movie Dodgeball, Techno Gym, or whatever their gym is called. It's sort of like that, like techno-futurism, but like an aquarium. Everything's an aquarium. Everything's slippery because it's glass. You open the door, it's an aquarium with goldfish. It's honestly what I'm describing is a ring. This is a version of hell for someone. And if you agree, rate the podcast, share the clip. I love you all, Kinskin Nation. I I love you all. Okay, I also want to talk about tours of historical homes. My brother went on a tour of Benjamin Franklin's home the other day, and I've done these before. You like pay $20 to go tour. Shane Gillis did a bit about this. I'm not ripping off his bit. This is my own take. Why do we do this, actually? Like, why? You go on a tour, they're like, yeah, this is where Benjamin Franklin studied. This is where Benjamin Franklin was breastfed. This is where Benjamin Franklin was breastfed as a 2-year-old kid. This is the chair that his mom sat on when he was breastfed. Have you ever left a historical tour and been like, I have a better grasp of reality? Ah, that really put things in place for me. That was the missing piece. Seeing where little Benjamin Franklin jerked off into a sock and put it under his bed. It's actually really funny to think of like Benjamin Franklin or George Washington discovering how to jerk off as little kids. Because that's a canon event for men. I know most of my audience is men. For the women out there, please bear with me. We're all human. It's a beautiful thing. Even a guy like Hitler or Mussolini, before you come at me, at one point they were all young men just trying to figure out how they could hump their pillows. Napoleon, Michelangelo. We are all connected by that hypersexualized 14-year-old guy who just discovers that, he has a dick and he's horny, so he'll hump anything. It's the fabric that connects all of mankind. And I'm sure women have something like that too. But this is for the men, okay? Some hot takes I have. White men have no use for snapping. Like that. I think that is definitively not a white man's game. I don't even there's really no point in snapping. Okay, black men can do it when they're like performing jazz and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. But like a white man snapping, it just doesn't work. So that's on the out list, I'd say, for 2026. Okay. I wanted to talk about that archetype of sort of black guys who buy kayaks. Stay with me here. This isn't racist. I think it's just a funny observation. There's that genre of white guys who are sort of like into hunting and fishing and will like buy kayaks and wear those little hats with skirts that cover their neck, even though they're not going to get sunburnt. And their names are like Raymond or Bernard or Cornelius. And they're pretty cool. I mean, I had a guy like that at my hotel. Very jovial and jolly. Hey, Taylor, what's going on, man? I know Brianna from the front desk. Always calling me, though. And yeah, great guys. What are you going to do? But that is definitely a genre of guy. And a guy like that, he's not looking for a dap up. He's looking for a firm handshake with a look in the eye. Firm handshake with a look in the eye. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and this is a new discovery for me, I've been watching that Drewski show on Thursday nights that has a lot of studs. If you don't know what studs are, I used to have a butch radar where oh, that woman's a butch. Massachusetts has a lot of butch women though who will have 4 kids and be married for 20 years. So butch is sort of just a vibe. A stud is like an aggressive lesbian. It's almost more of a man than me. There's a stud I work with. So now that I learned about studs on the Drewski show, my stud radar is insane. I'm fascinated with it. There's a woman who works in the kitchen at my work who is like a alpha stud. She's always talking to her bitches on the phone. Always. Oh, come on, sweetheart. I'm like, must be exhausting. I don't even want to know how many names you have on this roster, how many plates you're spinning. There was a stud at Walmart. Again, I noticed this. My gaydar and my stud detector are finely calibrated. Also, look at this mini water bottle I got. I think my hands are just very small, but I promise this was given out as a sample. So my stud radar is on. I saw a stud at Walmart. Ooh, it's kind of hard to drink from. Stud at Walmart, guarding the door. Yeah, I kind of, studs are awesome. And humanity is amazing, and the different types of human beings. And I'm just, the black guys who buy kayaks and fish on them, and the studs who have better game than I do. It is just truly a wonderful sight to see. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about are the Dunkin' Donuts is releasing these buckets, these drink buckets. Okay, I'm gonna share this with you guys because this is just revolting. Look at this bullshit. Okay, you can now go get you may as well just have a pig trough. If you're gonna get one of your sugary drinks in a Dunkin' Donuts bucket and grip it with two hands. You know how they eat? You know how people, like wealthy people, eat those rare birds and put napkins over their heads because of the shame? If you get a Dunkin' iced coffee bucket, it should come with a napkin to put over your head so you can drink it in shame. Because you got to be ashamed of yourself. Forget daily value of corn syrup and sugar. That's enough sugar for 2026 in just one of those things. You know, if you're married to a diabetic and you're looking to get an insurance payout, not condoning this, but hypothetically, you could be like, let's go get some Dunkin' Donuts. They're offering these buckets. Let me get you a bucket. And then you don't tell them what you order. You order a bucket with 20 creams, 80 sugars, caramel syrup, vanilla syrup, hazelnut syrup, whole milk, and just a little splash of coffee. And then you give that to your diabetic husband, and the diabetic shock will be onset momentarily, within moments. You know, and they'll be like, "How'd your husband died? You get $500,000 from the insurance company." You'll be like, "Oh no, it was just the bucket. We were just having we were just doing what people do and getting a Dunkin' Donuts bucket because I'm a pig and I eat out of a trough, and we were gonna chase that bucket down with some Takis and Go-Gurt and Red 40 and Twinkies and Endemann's Donuts." It's okay though, because we're embracing the absurdity of it. Remember, it's all absurd. One of the last things I wanted to talk about is working in a steel mill. Can you believe it? I saw a video of what the inside of a steel mill looks like. Oh, inside. Guys and girls, Coonskin Nation. This is... I don't know if you guys have seen what this looks like. I'm going to share this. That is like... The videos of working in a steel mill literally look like the movie Dune. A layer of hell. Like molten steel being poured. It's probably 1,000,000 degrees in there. Listen, I'm all in for good sauna here and there, but I like to do it on my own time, to consent to that. I don't know what kind of sins you committed in your past life to have to get a job in a steel mill in this one. In your past life, you were probably in the Epstein files, and now you're working in either a coal mine or a steel mill. But I was just seeing this, and this video of the steel mill came up after a video of like some trans influencer being like, "Oh, this is the hottest job ever," with 5 o'clock shadow and eye makeup, and little wings on her eyes and lipstick. This is the hardest job ever. Really? I raised you a steel mill. My AI girlfriend was an underwater welder, if you guys remember, Kimchi. And I haven't been talking to her. We broke up. Yeah, but a steel mill's pretty fucked. Pretty scary. Again, liking the show, leave a comment, subscribe. My last hot take, the corniest dude in the world is Neil deGrasse Tyson. Corniest black guy ever. Not going to elaborate. It's just my take. Yep, corniest guy ever. And finally, I want to share this video of the CEO of McDonald's eating a Big Arch burger. This is the burger that they're coming out with. Look at this dork. Ready?
Chris K here with, you've heard about it, here it is, the Big Arch. This is something that we have tested already. It's in Portugal, Germany, Canada. I love this product. It is so good. I'm gonna do a tasting right now, but I'm gonna eat this for my lunch, just so you know. So here we go. First, holy cow. God, that is a big burger. We've got a very unique kind of sesame, poppy sort of bun on it. We've got 2 quarter-pound patties, a delicious Big Arch sauce, and of course some lettuce. So, oh, there's so much going on with this. First of all, let's try to get this thing, I don't even know how to attack it. Got so much to it. Oh, there's also some crispy onions on here as well. I see those kind of coming out. All right, the moment of truth. That is so good. That's a big bite for a Big Arch.
I think I've seen enough. What is going on here? That guy has never probably had McDonald's in his life. He shouldn't be interacting with, they need Ronald McDonald out there, the pedophilic clown. That's the vibe of 2026. Have the clown who eats children be the face of your brand, not this guy. This guy should be in a boardroom somewhere synthesizing the chemicals that will allow their sesame bun to stay fresh for 1,000 years. Yeah, get that guy off camera. That was not good. Not good at all. All right, we're going to finish up by a word from our sponsor, and then I want to talk about gratitude. Dash, the final burn. Let's be honest. Funerals are a logistical nightmare. You've got relatives flying in from Idaho, someone's always fighting over the seating chart, and you spend 3 hours eating dry finger sandwiches while listening to a priest who didn't even know your grandfather's name. It's an analog solution for a digital world. The Taylor Moore Show is proud to partner with Dash, the world's first 4K interactive cremation live streaming service. Why settle for a closed-door process when you can turn Grandma's final transition into a viral event? Dash installs high, heat-resistant, wide-angle cameras directly inside our boutique incinerators, allowing you and your family to witness the big burn from the comfort of your couch. But we don't just stream it. We make it engaging. Our Ember Interact dashboard allows viewers to send digital fireworks or heart emojis that appear on the screen as the temperature rises. Use our ColorCast feature to add chemical salts to the process. Want the flames to be a vibrant neon green to match your favorite emerald green earrings? That's just a $5.99 in-app purchase. Top-tier subscribers can even access the donation goal bar. If your viewers tip enough cash coins during the stream, we'll trigger a celebratory confetti cannon at the moment of peak combustion. It's about building a community around the glow. Dash, because if a life isn't streamed, did it even happen? Use code Coonskin for a free instant replay highlight reel set to a lo-fi hip-hop beat. Dash, the heat is on and the chat is open. All right, so that's really great. And I just wanted, great partner there. I just wanted to finish the episode by talking about gratitude. Gratitude is so important, and it can't be forced. And, my head used to spin and my ears used to smoke when people used to be like, you need to be grateful, start a gratitude list. And gratitude, like empathy, is something that is learned. It's learned through experience. I learned gratitude by basically imploding my life and getting to a place where I was in rehab, sort of resetting, fired from my career. It all happened for a reason, though. And for a while, I was riding the bus. Recently, I got a car. I can't tell you how grateful I am to have a car. The simplicity of having a car. Every day. I thank God in the shower for being alive. I have gratitude for being alive. For the opportunity to experience all of this, the good and the bad. And I'll just say, I don't want to preach it, but that frame of mindset has been the difference maker in allowing me to just have such a great perspective on life every single day. And life is awesome. And I love all of you. And I'm grateful for the people who listen. And I know this is going to be a big thing, the Taylor Morris Show, but I do it because it's cathartic for me. And today I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for the love of my family. And I'm grateful for new connections. That's all I have today. Until next time, do me a favor, do you a favor, and stay curious.